Eliminate the workplace excuse. That's what leaders do. This is the Career Blind Spot Podcast.
Today's CBQ, why was it so important for you to sleep train our kids?
Because I'm a terrible sleeper and I wanted my kids to not have to struggle with that.
Terrible Sleeper sounds like a rap album. Um, but so one, this is not just for the parents who are thinking about sleep training their kids. Even if you don't have kids, there's some leadership correlations that are undeniable. I've often said sleep is the one metric you can't fake. And we also live in a world where, oh, I'm so tired. Even though it sucks, I think everyone hates not sleeping, but there is like kind of this humble brag, which you might feel that way, but I'm not impressed. So yeah, Courtney, I've told Courtney, we have for those first time listening or haven't heard, we have a 2-month-old and a 2-year-old, and Courtney sleep trains them. Now it's not perfect, but our 2-year-old, let's say 90% of the time sleeps 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. Would you say that's accurate or too generous?
No, I think he's more like 95%. Like that kid he doesn't fight sleep. He's like, all right, let's do it. It's on schedule. Let's go.
Yeah. And then, so we're going to talk about like how Courtney got it to do that. And I've kind of assisted, but she's spearheaded that. He's regressed and he sees this like red cat in his dream, which is a whole thing. but in terms of if our kids don't sleep, even one of them, we're both not sleeping. And shout out to all the parents. Our heart goes out to you. But this is kind of like the extreme version of the airplane oxygen mask thing of you got to take care of yourself first, or even like a reversed version of you. In this case, you got to take care of them first so you can go to sleep. And our 2-month-old, or almost 3 now, Courtney, in the last couple of weeks, we've had some great days, some inconsistent, but overall it's getting better. But I like to tell Courtney, because she has a tendency to undervalue the work that goes in, that she got a PhD in both of our kids. So quickly, Courtney, share that nurse or the program that is not cheap, but in the grand scheme of, are you able to sleep? It is a great investment. What's it called? And approximately, like, there's different series, right? But break it down for people who aren't familiar.
Yeah. So it's a program called Taking Care of Babies, and Cara is spelled Cara. It's a woman named Cara. She's actually a local woman here in Arizona, and she is a nurse, and her husband is a pediatrician, and she wanted her kids to sleep. So she went into this deep dive of how to do it, working with a doctor named Harvey, who was like the expert on training babies how to sleep. Basically, this program is not cheap, like Juan said, but it is the best investment I feel like you can make for both yourself and your kids. I should have said for the CBQ question, I initially wanted them to be good sleepers, but once I actually had the kids, because I did all that research before we had them, I was like, I want to friggin' sleep. So I recommend it. It doesn't matter if your kid is 2 years old and you haven't sleep trained and you're like at the end of your rope. She has it so that you can actually start from where you are. And there's no judgment. Like, it's really good at, if your kid still needs to be rocked to sleep and they're 4 years old, she has a way that you can work past that. It's a really, really good program.
Yeah. And I don't want to get too inside baseball. I mean, maybe if the demand's there, but for those who aren't having kids and have stuck around for this, maybe you do sleep great, maybe you don't. There's the leadership allegory here is like, again, if our kids don't sleep, we don't sleep. If they sleep, Juan sleeps, Courtney not so much, or at least not as great in sound. And but when they are sleeping and we do a callback, what do you tend to do? Be like, you used the term earlier before we started recording, but like you undervalue the effort you put in. Or actually, let's go back to the training real quick. Sorry. You like had to watch. You have to, like, yes, even if it was free, this is still something that's really hard. And I think a lot of people would struggle with, because it's not a linear, plug and play, paint by numbers. Like, it's a lot of experimentation. So you studied, you got certified in this per kid, and you constantly have to, kind of like a car, you got to change the oil every now and again, or maintenance they regress, as they get older, imaginations and different things happen, poop schedules, etc. So how much time before you even started sleep training, like how much prep did you put into it approximately?
Probably about 3 hours with Conan the first time.
No, you were telling me you were watching like hours of stuff.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, that's prep.
see,
There you
I
go.
undervalue all of it.
No, that's the
So
point. Leaders, like, even when things go, when they work, like, especially when they don't work, you're like, oh, I gotta do all this stuff. But to get something to work, especially like you can't force sleep. That's kind of the issue. Like, little spiritual number, like to sleep is like to surrender and be like, okay, my belly might be exposed, but I can fall asleep for, the next 4 to 8 hours. And so many of us, our brains don't shut off. And I've been there before, but you spent hours, Courtney. Like, I get the course might be 3 hours. Is that even accurate?
yeah, that's about accurate. Yeah. So
Okay.
you're right. I mean, I guess I don't take into account all of the things that I actually had to do and try. And man, there was a lot of failing. I remember like the joy of being able to say, like, I did that. I got him to be a good sleeper with Conan. Like,
Okay. Fair.
yeah,
Yeah. I do want to get there, but let's go back again. Before you even started doing it, it's 3 hours of a course. I don't think you put it on for 3 hours and then you just went and did it.
no.
So how much time approximately did you prepare to before you actually started saying, hey, Juan, I'm going to sleep train the baby. You go on the other side of the house.
Probably 20 hours.
Yes. Jeez, I'm glad we're recording this because later on it's no big deal. Like 20 hours, that is a lot of time for you to, like, that is a course that you're in taking that in. So we are off the whole sleep training topic, but like the preparation to do something you want of quality, especially for someone else, let alone someone you love who doesn't speak English just yet or even understand. So again, the prep, she went from 3 hours, folks, to realizing it's probably 20 plus. And you're probably not even counting talking to your cousin, Zach and Megan, and other people who share their tips. There's like real people who can help you. And then there's other people who say stupid shit like, when you sleep, when the baby sleeps. And, if you've said that, I love you, but it doesn't help anyone. And I'm going to tell you that the next time you can't sleep, like just go to sleep because you can. Like, no, it's like when the one time that doctor told you, you're like, I can't sleep. I'm trying to lose weight. And they're like, well, maybe if you just slept better and you ate better. It's like, lady, that's why we're talking to you. But my point is not just the preparation, the I don't know if collaboration is the right word, but you sought out other people who not just were nice, but credible and gave you, actually give a shout out to, I think more some your Megan, but like she gave you some advice or just kind of like humility of like, hey, it's hard, more or less. I'm doing a terrible job, but I feel like she was someone who helped you stay the course.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably the first time I realized that reaching out to people who were more knowledgeable about something would be a great way to learn, honestly. Because before I would just do everything theoretically, but Megan Van Voeveland is my cousin-in-law, and she was so open and honest with me about the struggles and everything and how she had solved things, and she just was such a wonderful resource. I remember when we had the kids, she was like, "Hey, I can come over and watch Conan for you so you can take a shower." And I was like, "Oh, that's not an issue for me, but can you come and give me advice?" And so they did. They came over, my cousin Zach and Megan came over and they gave us advice. And it was like, okay, I think I can do this. Like they're showing me that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's so good to know. And I felt more confident in everything that we
Yeah.
were about to try.
Yeah. I don't want to open too big a can of worms, but you said it earlier, like you were theoretical. You had the information, but it was a while until you even started applying it. And so talking to
Yes.
her, what was kind of the catalyst to be like, okay, let's go put this to test. So now we've talked about, hey, there's this thing I want. I want my kids to sleep. Yeah, that's reasonable. But the work that it takes, especially through this nurse's course, because I'm sure there's other ways. And for
Right.
the record, folks, if it wasn't recorded, I'd be like, our kids would probably be sleeping in our bed with us. It wouldn't be terrible, but it wouldn't be as nice as we are able to sleep most of the time. Pending, sickness and nightmares, etc. But I told Courtney, if it wasn't for you, I could not do what you were doing, or I would not make it a priority. I would see if I could hire that nurse to sleep through my kids, but probably not, just one person. So there's this preparation, then there's this, lame term is networking, and I call it proactive collaboration, but you're reaching out to someone, I think you said smarter than you, but more, it's like they're
More
just
experienced,
experienced.
more
Yeah.
knowledgeable. And I think the most important thing to me about asking them specifically was they were the first parents that I saw that genuinely loved being parents, that didn't really complain about their kids, And whenever they were like, yeah, it's hard, they would be so funny about it and just really great sports. And I don't know, I feel like we were on the same page. They're living the life that I want to live. And so I actually want to know what they think. And I feel like that taught me leadership wise, stop listening to the opinions of people who are doing stuff that you don't want to be doing. If somebody's not leading the way that you want to be a leader, don't have them mentor you.
But now rubber meets the road. You
Right.
go and do it. And I remember feeling guilty, but also, yes. You were like, Juan, I'm going to do this. Get out of the house or get out of this side of the house, go on the other side. We're lucky enough, those people in apartments or whatever. I can only imagine how much more challenging, even if you had the luxury to invest and put the time in. But I got to go to sleep and we turned on all this noise. So it drowned out the stuff. But Courtney took it on. And basically it was not just step 1, step 2, step 3. It was experimentation. You're more holistic than just do it Nike ad. I'm sure I'm not doing it justice, but yeah, what was it like for you to actually put everything to apply the knowledge, the wisdom, the advice?
It was really hard and really frustrating because I am somebody who's so theoretical, and in my head, it's like Euclidean space. So everything is perfect in my head and I apply it and it works great, but that is not reality. So
Yeah.
I really struggled. And one thing I would really like to point out is that you're undermining your contribution to the process. Yes, I made you sleep on the other side of the house, but our agreement was I will do the nights with the kids and you will help with the day and you will make the decisions because I'm going to be so tired. I don't want to have to make decisions. So you took that on for me while I did the sleep training. So it was a joint effort. You gave as much as you got with the sleeping.
Well, and we're mashing things out, and thank you. But you also give me a lot of compliments. So I don't want to. This is you, or we're lionizing you here, but also humanizing what it takes. Because I think people are like, oh, Courtney sleep trains. Well, she's able to work from home. No, that's not the case. It's like when people only post the best versions of themselves on social media versus the anxiety. You don't want to put your dirty laundry out there in the same way, but to get to this goal, you even undermine it. And it is a metaphor for leadership, of sacrificing for the betterment of other people. I remember one of the first nights, actually to Courtney's point, I was like, you haven't slept. Now, aside from all the other very, I don't know, unfair, but at the very least lopsided expectations a mom has with a newborn versus a dad, I'm like, not sleeping is a inhumane thing to do to someone.
Right.
You just made a baby, you popped out the baby's healthy, but you still haven't slept. And even being pregnant, Courtney had issues. So I'm like, how about I give you one night? And I feel like a great dad and, everyone claps and applauds. But I remember the first night I didn't sleep with the baby. The next morning, you were like, oh my God, I got to sleep, I don't know, maybe 3 hours before you had to get up and pump. But you were like, I feel so much better. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Like one night of disrupted sleep, I could feel my brain capacity. Now, could I get in a car and drive? Could I go to work, do stuff? Sure. But am I on my A game? Hell no.
No.
And so I'm like, as this more husband-wife stuff, when you are tired and you are sleep deprived, I will get frustrated with you. I'm like, just make the decision. But it's also like saying, hey, this person's sick. Take care of yourself. But it's also like, as adults, we're supposed to. And where you're like, but I'm tired. I'm like, okay, that's unfair. But after a while, and this is really dirty laundry or at least personal, I'm like, I don't care what else is going on in your world, Courtney. I'm going to curse here, but fucking sleep. Do whatever you need to do so I can get my partner back because I can't sleep for you. And it's really frustrating because I feel that empathy, but then I'm also like, figure it out. And that's me being a jerk because I'm like, yeah, when you're sleep deprived, when you're sick, when you're anything other than your full capacity, it's really hard to make good decisions. So it's like sleep is this foundation, this gift you've given our kids of self-soothing. But it is this really complicated thing, complex, I should say, and experimental. So I don't know if you want to add or tell me actually that's not quite true and you see it differently, but let's go back into the experimentation. If not, otherwise feel free to jump in anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. It is something that I struggle with is putting myself first. It just does not come naturally to me. So it is something that I'm working on. But yeah, I'm pretty sure word for word, that even swear word included, we've had that conversation a lot.
Yeah. And you have gotten better. I will say that, I mean, I know a lot of people who don't sleep great, and I used to feel bad because I sleep, maybe not great, but definitely I get better sleep than a lot of my peers. But I'd also be envious of people. I only slept 4 hours and I got up and I started sending emails. That's not normal.
That's
That's,
dumb.
and they said like Michael Jordan, when the NBA Team USA, he didn't sleep the whole time. He just gambled, played golf and did other stuff, but he still destroyed everyone. I mean, he was also playing with some of the best players of all time. But I think when he, assuming he donates his body to science after he passes away, he's going to have like 2 hearts and 4 lungs, and he's not normal. And he's one person out of the, 8 billion. Do we all need 8 hours? I don't think so. But the other day I got up at 4:45 naturally. I woke up and I'm like, I'm going to get up. I slept a good like 7.5. And the first time in years, we take pride in being crabby. And that's fine as from a human, no judgment, but also I probably don't want to hang out with you very much. And as a leader, sheesh, I don't want to hang out with you, but I can't make you sleep. I can't make my clients sleep. And they're like, well, these people come in with a bad attitude, this or that. Guess what? You would like them to do better. Take care of their effing sleep.
Right.
So we're going a little long here, but I feel like we painted a really good picture. Again, I'm super grateful because it doesn't mean I'm going to sleep great, but our kids are asleep. Courtney has built this foundation, but just like, that term, they don't build them like they used to, like with houses. Like this is a different pod. We probably should do that, but like the quality, it takes time. Taking shortcuts. You would get mad at me. They're like, let's be honest here. I'd be like, can I just sleep with the baby in front of the TV because they're gonna fall asleep? And you're like, no, it disrupts it and it sets me back. And you would get upset because I'm like, I'm tired. Yeah, but I put all this work in. Is that fair?
Yes, that is fair. Yeah.
So it's like, yes, you gave me credit, but very often I would, not on purpose, but kind of go rogue on the mission. And you're like, no, don't do that. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me how to help you. Cause otherwise I'm going to do my instincts, which I can get the baby to sleep. I can sleep and we can survive another day. But that is coping or a triage that is not going to pay off later on. It's only going to create more of a dependency that creates more resentment. So I'm going to kind of short tell this and then feel free to add in, but like you experiment. And I think you said the word regress, like it's not perfect. Even when it works out, the great advice, one of the advices I do like is the baby you go home with from the hospital is not the baby you wake up with. Especially those first 3 months. After a while, it starts to space out. But every now and again, like our son is, I think he's eating Super Mario mushrooms because he just like keeps growing every day as a 2-year-old. And so like adjusting his car seat, all this other stuff, the first time he had a nightmare, he was like, whoa. And then the other day he told you what during his nap, like I came and helped him, which
Yeah. In his
awesome to
dreams.
hear.
Yeah.
So all this stuff, like his biology is changing and depending on what he eats, et cetera. So that's going to affect his sleep. And to assume he's going to just sleep 8-10 hours for the rest of his life, that'd be nice, but probably not. So what would you like, not just the parents, but from the leadership aspect, you've experimented, you're successful, you got to go in and tweak every now and again. Again, I feel like you do it great, but that you also undervalue what you're still doing, not just the groundwork you laid, but from a leader, a parent, a mother, someone who works, all these other things, in addition to this stuff. What final thoughts do you have?
I mean, find what works for you and your family. No judgment to if you go sleep. No judgment to if you have to rock your kids to
Yes.
sleep. There is no judgment. Our son is 2 and still has to fall asleep with a pacifier right now. Do what you have to do and figure out what's going to work for you and your family. And honestly, even if you're somebody who's not social like me, I'm not a social person. Find somebody that you admire and ask them for any advice that they can give you. People love to give advice. And I think it's so funny that often the advice that you want comes from people who aren't giving it to you willingly. You have to actually go and ask them. So,
Oh, that's good.
yeah. So I would go find those people, go find your people because, everybody's going to have different needs and they're all starting from different places. Do what you need to do to be the leader that you want to be.
Oh, that is fantastic. And actually, yeah, we'll end with the call to action. Um, when you're helping your kid, you're helping your team, you're helping your spouse, your whoever it is, like, yeah, it's altruistic. I feel good when I do a pro bono thing or I'm playing with my kid. But at the same time, if it's costing you your sleep, your sanity, your health, your integrity, maybe don't do that the same way. Not saying stop cold turkey, but consider the impact in the long term. And like I said, sleep is the ultimate metric. If someone is waking up refreshed every morning, like Courtney said, no judgment. I'm like, whatever you're doing, it's working. But if you're not, you can't fall asleep. Definitely, there's probably an issue. But if you're like, man, I'm still tired, like, then there's probably things that you need to take accountability for as a leader, that is actually going to help you. It doesn't all have to be self-sacrifice. In fact, I don't think you're really that good of a leader if it's all self-sacrifice. So thank you, Courtney, for this podcast, but also for the fact that I get to sleep tonight.
You're welcome.
I make this show for leaders, those who don't point fingers, but point towards ways they can do better at work. My ask for listening is you share the show on social and or with other leaders, established or aspiring. Until then, no talent, no culture, no excuses.